Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
History was made on Wednesday as the Colorado legislature gave final approval to a bill asking voters to tax recreational marijuana, moving the mile-high state closer to becoming the first in the United States to pass laws regulating legal cannabis. The Colorado Senate on Wednesday morning approved the tax measure and another bill spelling out rules for marijuana stores and sent both to the House, reports John Ingold of the Denver Post. The House then quickly passed House Bill 1318, the bill on cannabis taxes, and sent it to Governor John Hickenlooper's desk. Our guest, Agua Das from Colorado, and I will be discussing more on that in just a moment. But Colorado's House members will now take up a second measure covering rules for cannabis stores. HB 1318 imposes a 15% excise tax and 10% sales tax on recreational cannabis sales. Voters would have to approve the taxes this November before they can take effect. The money will be used for school construction and for regulating cannabis stores. Many of the rules for those stores are detailed in Colorado's House Bill 1317, the second bill approved on Wednesday by the Colorado Senate. Under that bill, cannabis outlets would need to be licensed by the state and owned by residents of the state of Colorado. Only Colorado's current medical marijuana dispensary owners will be able to apply and run recreational cannabis shops for the first 9 months. The first social marijuana stores will be required to grow what they sell, but wholesale growers and standalone retailers will be allowed starting in October of 2014. Our next story is from Massachusetts. Public health officials in Massachusetts on Wednesday approved final regulations for the state's medical marijuana program, preparing for the voter-approved law to take effect. However, it'll likely be a few more months before the first medical marijuana dispensaries are open in Massachusetts. Massachusetts in November became the 18th state to legalize marijuana for medicinal purposes, allowing patients with cancer, Parkinson's disease, and HIV to use cannabis with the doctor's approval. The regulations also allow doctors to authorize marijuana for other debilitating conditions not specifically listed in the rules. The Public Health Council unanimously approved the 45 pages of regulations for Massachusetts, which allow authorized patients to buy and possess up to 10 ounces as a 60-day supply, though some patients could be authorized for greater amounts with permission from their doctors. Up to 35 dispensaries will be licensed in Massachusetts to operate around that state. News story about cannabis and health. Regular marijuana smokers are no more likely to develop lung cancer than those who smoke only occasionally, according to a new study. The study's results back up other large-scale studies. The findings of no significant increase in lung cancer risk held true whether marijuana smoked once, twice, or more each day, and regardless of how many years they had smoked. Dr. Lee Rita Zhang reported at the annual meeting of the American Association of Cancer Research. It was reported in the Oncology Report digital network. The study incorporated data from 6 controlled studies from 1999 to 2012 in the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, and New Zealand, with 2,159 lung cancer cases and 2,985 controls. All of the studies involved were part of the International Lung Cancer Consortium, or ILCCO, an international group of researchers who share comparable data from ongoing and recently completed lung cancer studies from various geographical areas and ethnicities. Looking at marijuana smokers and excluding tobacco smokers, there were no significant difference in any of the comparisons, including habitual or non-habitual cannabis use, the number of joints smoked per day, or the duration of use of up to 20 years or 20 years or more. The study's pulmonologist, Michael Albert, said, quote, "The conventional wisdom is that smoking cannabis is not as dangerous as cigarette smoking," end quote. The difference in risk could at least partially be related to chemical additives in commercial cigarettes that aren't present in marijuana smoke. But another factor is almost certainly the fact that marijuana can slow or reverse cancer tumor growth, according to multiple studies. For patients using medical marijuana, the benefits of smoking can outweigh the risks, according to Dr. Alberts, who's the chief medical officer of the Moffitt Cancer Center in Tampa, Florida. The study concludes, quote, "Our pooled results showed no significant association between the intensity, duration, or cumulative consumption of cannabis smoke and the risk of lung cancer overall in people who've never been smokers at all. Numerous preclinical studies have documented that cannabinoids possess potent anti-cancer properties, including the inhibition of lung cancer cell growth." Our next story is out of Baltimore, Maryland. Chronic cannabis users may test positive for trace residual amounts of THC in their blood for several weeks after ceasing their marijuana use, according to trial data published in the Journal of the American Association of Clinical Chemistry. 30 long-term daily cannabis consumers participated in the trial. The mean self-reported daily consumption of cannabis among subjects in the study was 10 joints per day. Of the 22 subjects tested 24 hours following admission in the trial, 12 of them, or 59%, tested positive for THC levels greater than 1 nanogram per milliliter of active THC in their blood, but none tested at levels greater than 5 nanograms per milliliter. All the subjects' THC blood levels tested below the 1 nanogram per milliliter within 7 days following admission. That's the end of our Hemp News segment tonight. We're going to jump over to John Cornett and Jan Sue Hurst. Thank you, folks.
Hi.
Hey.
Howdy.
So we're going to do a song here called Under the Milky Way by a group called Church. I did the music for it last week. Can you turn on the microphone? There you go. Oh, phew. Okay.
Scare yourself.
Anyway, it goes like this. Sometimes when this place gets kind of empty, some of the breath fades with the light. Think about loveless fascination under the Milky Way tonight. Lower the curtain down on Memphis. Lower the curtain down all night. Got no time for private consultation under the Milky Way tonight. Wish I knew what you were looking for. Might have known what you would find. It is something quite peculiar, something shimmering and white. Lead you here despite your destination under the Milky Way tonight. Wish I knew what you were looking for. Might have known what you would find. Wish I knew what you were looking for. Might have known what you would find. And it is something quite peculiar, something shimmering and white. Lead you here despite your destination under the Milky Way tonight. Wish I knew what you were looking for. Might have known what you would find. Wish I knew what you were looking for. Might have known what you would find.
All right, thank you, John and Jansu. Great song. I'd like to introduce my guests. Welcome, Agua. I'm happy to have you on the show. I've been trying to get you on for a long time.
Well, what an honor to be here.
It's my honor, too. How are you, Johnny or Justin?
I'm well,
Everything
Paul.
you want to use?
I'm well.
Hey,
Hemp Hooray.
Casper, how are you?
Fine.
You
Happy
popped in
Friday.
here. Happy Friday to you. So,
We got
Agua.
some, food here, don't we?
Yeah, we've got a couple food advocates, and Das goes beyond just mere food as well, but he's got some hemp samples and some of his ice cream.
Wonderful.
This is going to melt pretty quick, isn't it?
Oh no, it's going to go rapidly into a human container.
Okay. Well, let's see. I'm not ready to eat it right this second, but at some point we will.
Yes.
You got a chiller down there? Something
Yeah, I
that
have an
won't melt?
insulated box
Good.
back here.
Good.
Essential
So you
fats
have
are.
a slogan there. I mean, a little logo for your hemp ice cream.
Well, no dairy,
Uh-huh.
no soy, no rice, no whey. Why dilute the world's perfect food?
Yeah?
You know, hemp ice cream. Ah! And we're a scream, not a whisper.
That's what I say. Hemp Hooray, a healthy way to start each and every day. It's truly the seed we need for essential fats are where it's at. Omegas 3, 6, and 9 help nourish our bodies and our minds.
Welcome on board.
Welcome on deck. Let's keep our boat afloat here in the maiden voyage.
So you guys are you just met tonight though, actually, right? You haven't met each other before.
Not that I know of.
No,
I actually met
yeah.
one of your reps at the Portland Hemp Stock event
Yeah.
at Kelly Point Park this last year, selling the ice cream, hemp
Oh.
scream, and I was so delightful to run out and grab my raw shelled hemp seed and put it all on top of that and made a superfood ice cream.
He's already got it in there.
Oh,
There
yeah.
it
Those
is.
those seeds, and the hemp seeds are so amazing because they taste like pine nuts or macadamia.
Sesame
You know,
seed.
whatever the premium nuts. You know, it
Like
has
cashews.
harks to the flavor of those. And you, to contrast it with soybeans, you don't have to conceal its taste. You can showcase the nice nutty flavor.
Might I add that one of the things that's most insane is that we use an oil product called hexane to break down the actual husk or nut of a soy plant so that we can actually get to the protein source inside. Hemp is unique in that it's one of the only true foods in the Garden of Eden, or Garden of Good Eating as I call it, that can be totally consumed in its whole nut or shell form, and it's completely assimilated by the human body, containing a lot of minerals and vitamins.
Way more digestible than soybeans and a higher protein yield per acre. And in Colorado, we get the benefit of a little known provision of Amendment 64, which requires the Colorado State Legislature to set up hemp farming inside
There's
of the
been
state
some
of
progress
Colorado.
on that this past week or month.
It is unanimously supported by both the Senate and the House. There was one person who did vote against it only because he felt like the regulations were too restrictive. And so we have unanimous support of the Colorado legislature on industrial hemp. They said, wait, we've been dealing with controversial issues for a long time. This is a slam dunk.
There's been a tremendous amount of export of hemp foods and hemp products coming across the border. Unfortunately, that's where we get our order today is from Canada. And a lot of American farmers have been crying out for many years, with all due respect, to bring back a seed that was once growing during World War II.
But you know,
Our
even
founding
up
fathers-
in Canada, they can't grow from their own seed. They have to import their seed from
True
France
enough, and I can even
bring
read-
in this patented French low THC variety.
That's
what I call dwarf hemp.
pedigree
And
status.
so they can't grow the offspring of this dwarf hemp has greater than 1% THC, no less than 0.3%.
Well, There's a couple interesting features.
But you're not
related
limited to
the
that
law.
in Colorado, according to this new Amendment
Well,
64
the
law.
Amendment
Is that correct?
64,
Or are you?
the regulation states that the products will be less than 0.3% THC.
Okay.
And that's currently
Now,
what we find in
and-
the industrial hemp regulations when we order from Canada as well.
Well, and there are a few different definitions of industrial hemp that
so there's
should
only
be
one
stated.
place to get those seeds, though, and that's
Well,
this
I'm
French
not-
cutting. Oh, I know.
No, I'm not
Well,
willing. I'm not
subsection-
willing to say that. I mean, there's ditchweed for one thing.
But that has more than
been
3/10
growing.
of
That has been
1%.
growing in the windrows and the
Sure.
ditches for a long time.
Yeah.
And those seeds have been around for a long time,
Yeah.
and they are the only seeds in Colorado that we have access to without crossing state lines or without crossing a national border.
Are importing
Our
it from
customs.
And
France.
so
Customs or FDA.
the first step is really is
Well, the thing is,
test
the
trial
Canadians
crops.
cannot grow from their own seed.
True
They
enough.
have to keep importing their seed to grow in
I
Canada.
I can
no.
note
What's
exactly
happening is
on
that
that.
there is a Canadian Seed Growing Association.
Yeah, but
and
they're
they
growing
have
it
been
for
producing
food
their
and
own
oil.
foundation seed. They've been producing foundation, and what you normally have in seed development is you have breeder seed, you have foundation seed, you have registered seed, and certified seed. Those four classes. So there's a 4-year period in the evolution of any certified seed. The National Seed Protection Act provides the legal framework for handling the genetics of seeds inside of the United States, and it's consistent with international treaties. Now, the Canadian regulations that they're operating by go far beyond the restrictions of the Seed Variety Protection Act, because under the Seed Protection Act, a farmer can save seed enough to plant their own acreage of a
That's the
tier
Seed
one
Protection
of
Act.
tier one seeds. There are many heirloom seeds that there is no restriction on it. I have a lot to learn about the nature of those laws, and those are the rules I believe we're going by. Colorado's going to be doing it its own way. Colorado is not Canada. And
you're from
Coloradians-
Colorado.
I'm from Colorado.
Yeah.
And we value our autonomy and our independence greatly. And we've gotten advice from some of the best minds in the world. And this is a very, very exciting time. What I'm doing in the meantime, between now and when we have our first harvest, is that I'm using materials that were grown by people who grow it. This is the Canadian hemp fiber, mostly fiber, but if you look at it, you see that there's a certain amount of hurd in the fiber. And then if I get
I think
hurd,
we've got our camera people closing in on that.
you got the camera? Okay, let's see.
I don't see. Are you working?
Okay,
on
is there anybody on the camera?
Well, there's 4
Hello?
people on the camera.
Oh, okay.
but they're not looking at them.
Camera 2?
We'll see what we
Can
get
you
them
do a
to
tight shot, do a headshot?
They're volunteers
Okay.
too. What can I say?
Okay, well, that's
They're
good.
used to sitting in their chair.
Okay, well, I'm sorry to be dancing around like this. You know, one of the situations of the Canadian agriculture is that I've paid more in shipping than I have for my product any number of times.
I would agree with that. We pay just about the same amount per pound as we pay for product that we do in the shipping costs. So
Yeah.
that's one of the great travesties, and thanks to cheap oil, the national food giants will continue to run and supply us with some of the mainstream food items.
What do
And
you
hemp
mean?
is-
What
hemp
do you
is-
mean cheap oil?
It's not so cheap anymore.
Well, very well.
Yeah.
Hemp Parade, maybe someday we can have cheap and expensive oil grown locally on our own farms. And thank you for that literature you passed over earlier. I'd actually like to point out that specific industrial hemp regulations, so that we just clear ourselves up. And Paul and Adidas, both of you are exactly right. Canada is a member of a 2-member scheme, and all of their seeds must be of pedigree status. And whichever arm of the regulation says that Canada cannot import whether or not the seeds are coming from either Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development seed schemes. And again, this is just all the acronym and jargon with politics and our compliance issues to try to grow.
Wouldn't it just be a lot easier if Monsanto just made the seed?
Well, currently this is the only non-GMO seed available for consumers.
He thinks he's a comedian, but we know that none of us really want that to happen.
This is the only non-GMO
was, a
seed
not so
currently
funny comment.
growing. And I would highly encourage everyone, recent studies have found that 7 out of every 10 Americans are lacking enough essential fats. The World Health Organization deems hemp as the most perfect balanced ratio of omegas 3, 6, and the rare omega-9 super gamma linonucleic acid. Very important for all of us. We all have something in common. We're all aging and getting older. So I encourage you all, hemp hooray, again, to eat it every day. And I applaud Adi Das. I went to school in southern Aguadas. I went to school in southern Colorado, and at that time had an environmental sciences degree. So I've been in a fight for a long time to come back to a real, truly sustainable agricultural harvest and embrace what we've been given in our land of milk and honey.
Now, one of the things that I think is cool about Canada is Canada gets behind the farmer by producing advertising for them and helping them to market overseas, and they help underwrite the cost of sometimes shipping and even networking overseas so they can do exporting of their hemp products. Is that going to be happening in Colorado?
Well, I'm a major advocate of the alternative to taxing, which is I'm an advocate for incentives. We need incentives that encourage our farmers to undertake the risks that are involved in producing what to them is a new crop. In 1990, I began pressing hemp seed oil in Colorado, and I thought lots of people were doing it. It turned out that between then and 1994, I was the only person pressing hemp seed oil in the United States since 1937. And all those body care products started with the oil that we pressed. And I wanted to do an activity that would not have me holding my breath waiting for somebody to change some rules. We had to hit the ground running. We had to punch our own ticket. And I found that the sterilized seed, I carefully read the current law, and it states that marijuana is all of these things, the cannabis plant growing or not, except for the mature stalks and the fiber made therefrom, and except for the seed that's been sterilized to render it incapable of germination. So there was an opportunity there for us to begin kicking up some dust and blowing some wind into our sails. And so we began eating luscious hemp seed foods.
If I might add, Aguadas, the Canadian industrial hemp regulations require that all seeds are sterilized coming across the border so that they can't be germinated by renegade farmers. I would like to add that it's still considered to be a raw food source.
The DEA also requires that.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. And the state laws across almost all the states.
So it's still
but it's the same sterilization feature is an essential part of all the existing federal law.
Yep, seed schemas
and
control.
So I'm just fine working with the sterilized seed. The USDA defines sterilization as 100 degrees C for 15 minutes.
325 for the food is actually what it is. It's 325.
And 325, you're scorching things. You only need to be at 100 degrees C.
It's 120.
You know, there are some stupid regulations that have come through because people have lobbied for them. For instance, the 1% is the practical limit for industrial hemp. And the French developed a lower THC variety, and they lobbied the EU in order to establish a monopoly for themselves. And so that the EU went with it, and that has been the precedent ever since. We need to stand for sound, well-founded, good, well-reasoned regulations. You know, that we have a set of rules that we all work by. But that is a pathetic change of the regulation in the name.
That is the current regulations as I understand it, and it becomes to the point now that every Canadian hemp farmer that wants to become a certified hemp farmer has to buy pedigree seed every year and become certified every year through the Industrial Hemp Regulatory Council. So it's such a loophole.
So you're objecting that you're objecting to the existence of the council?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying
we just got some rules that okay, let's all work by those rules, and let's be empowered participants in the rule-making process.
That's why we should get out the vote and vote.
You know, but I'd like to also present the historic point of the Single Convention Treaty on Narcotic Drugs has a definition of hemp that does not depend on some analytical laboratory's analysis of the THC content. And it's actually a much simpler and more practical and more enforceable rule.
And that is?
And that's Section 28.2 of the Single Convention Treaty on Narcotic Drugs states that no part of this drug control convention shall be construed to restrict the cultivation of the cannabis plant for the sole purpose, that's the key word, sole purpose, of producing industrial materials, parentheses, fiber and seed. That is the international definition of hemp.
So I remember you started pressing hemp seed oil in 1990.
Yes.
And when I first met you, circa 93 or so, you told me about a project where you had powered a diesel truck, a semi-tractor. You want to talk about that just a moment?
Well, it wasn't a tractor, it was a VW Rabbit.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, that's a little
It was a VW Rabbit, and I made some biodiesel from hemp seed oil. And I poured it in the tank, and I drove Senator Lloyd Casey in Colorado around the state capitol a couple times, so I had his ear. And he said, this is great, I will sponsor your bill. And so we used that to enlist a sponsor. Now that was, the hemp seed oil was $100 a gallon. And I was offering to turn it into biodiesel for free, so it was $25 a liter. So it's not the cheapest thing to drive.
But you're making small test batches.
Yeah, little blender batches. People have flown me around the world to do that.
Right.
Because seeing is believing. And you can't push a rope, so we gotta, light a fire underneath each other. And so it's long, sort of boring, tedious thing, and everybody was on the edge of their chairs all the way through the process.
Well,
it was beautiful.
I love what you're doing with the spinning of the fibers. That was a great show and tell experiment here. We were spinning hemp yarn.
Yeah, so food, fiber, and fuel are the three
amazing.
main practical fruits of this glorious plant.
The non-psychoactive cannabis products.
You know, if we truly...
People already know about how to get the munchies. They don't need me to educate on that.
Well, the other aspect of it is that many of our legislative bodies have decided to pursue the medical marijuana aspect of this plant, and in the process, they have overlooked the 50,000 different things that can be made from this. Now that we've got 3D printing on the horizon, and people are going to start having 3D printers in their homes, you needing plastic to produce the variety of 3D items that come out of their printers, and cloth. You can make 3D cloth. You can make your T-shirts and your hats now out of your 3D printer. This would be an ideal plant to be growing for our farmers to be making as a great cash crop to help advance the 3D printing market.
Well, I truly believe that the main concept here of hemp is in the nutritional value, and that truly that our freedoms and our plant kingdom, truly as a free, dumb fighter, I think it to be often very dumb, that we haven't awoke a long time ago to this terrible joke that was played on us when we extradited the king of the plant kingdom. His name was hemp, with all due respect, and it's now time for a Dear John letter back to our establishment to simply give us back our sovereign rights so that we can ignite these flames of ingenuity again and have patriotism come alive in this country to help keep the boat afloat again in its maiden voyage. We used to have hempen sails and hemp rope, and the almighty pioneers that came out here to Oregon came in hemp-covered or cannabis-covered wagons.
Do you understand what this is?
Do I understand what that is? It's part of the tree of life for me.
It's grown in Colorado.
Indoors, though.
It's a little dusty.
I know it is. This is this is what you call ribbon hemp. We took stems after the trimmers were done, and under the carve-out exemption from marijuana that mature stalks and the fiber therefrom are not marijuana.
It's kind of making me hungry.
We took these mature stalks, we soaked them in water overnight, and then the next day we peeled the bark off of the hemp stalks. And so this is ribbon hemp. And
hey, he's hungry. You better give him an ice cream
Well,
sandwich.
I think we better do an ice cream sandwich and get into some raw-shelled hemp seeds.
Well,
There's
here you
raw
go.
shelled hemp in
There
there.
you go.
Very well.
Just break that
for
open.
hemp scream. You know, I'm a lean, mean machine because I do eat a lot of hemp
I just
every
want to
day.
say that we are live. We're streaming on Ustream, ustream.tv. If you have a question or comment for our audience, you can call us at 503-288-4442. You have a couple of combs that you're combing that down.
So now I'm starting with ribbon hemp, and these are some woolen carders.
Is this what a sheep herder or a sheep processor would use? Is this?
No, this is
Plant fiber.
this is all plant fiber.
How do you do if you have asthma with this?
If you cough, wheeze,
Well, what about bronchitis? That's
bronchitis.
That's different than bronchitis, and that's a whole different story. That's
Yeah.
not to be.
And so we work the fiber, and this combs the cuticle off of it. And I am making a bit of a mess. I really
But
should
this
be
is
doing
what
this
you come
outdoors.
down with in the end. Is that correct?
That's right.
Wow.
And so
Delightful.
this breaks it apart and takes the cuticle off.
And this is almost as soft as a wool or sheep sweater.
It's actually a little finer than a wool hair,
Wow.
a wool fiber. This is 18 micron diameter is the real fibers from the hemp. And so now we've
Go ahead
got
and
it.
open that and eat it.
Yeah, well, you
John,
know I will.
go
I
ahead.
eat hemp
Don't
seed.
wait.
I
Do it now.
eat hemp seed every day. What I tell people often is that if you embrace the power of the flower as your medicine, with all due respect, humanity needs 4 things only, and that's
no, eat it.
that's food, clothing, shelter, and love. And love which comes from the flower. Whether you recreate or medicate, it releases bliss. And the only other food that comes close in our endocannabinoid receptor side is chocolate. So I highly encourage anyone that needs to medicate and has a late night munchie attack, as Paul referred, grab the whole toasted hemp seeds here and add it with chocolate covered raisins, raisinets from your local supermarket, throw it in the freezer. You've turned junk food into superfood. Hemp hooray. If you eat it every day, again, you'll be on your way to a healthy, long-filled life.
When you need love, you hug a plant.
I actually, I stopped to embrace the smell of the flower. That's where I get my power and my smiles. And that's from Mary
You know
Jane.
what? We have our first
go ahead and eat
caller
some.
here. Let me go ahead and welcome the caller to the show. Hello, caller.
Yes, this is Carlos Branch.
Hey, Carlos.
Yes. I was calling, I had seen y'all ad up on Facebook, and I was calling to learn something about the hemp and everything because I have NMO, it's like MS.
Uh-huh. You have MS, you said?
Yes,
Where do you live?
in
What state?
Carbondale, Illinois.
Yeah, you don't have a medical marijuana law in Illinois, unfortunately, but I know the legislature's been working on it.
I would encourage you to
Yeah.
visit the website Healthy Eating Made Possible. Our founding fathers believed that we could treat the human frame with nutrition. And as an education arm here, we're trying to provide an avenue in which you can find the information to better and improve your health. I strongly encourage you to consider a diet rich in omega fatty acids. And maybe Kangen water.
So
if
did
haven't
you
heard
have
that.
any other specific question?
Yes, I wanted to ask about the hemp milk because my son, he can't drink regular milk.
Tolerant?
Yes.
Well, it's
Have
very
the-
nutritious, and you can pick it up at most health food stores.
Whole Foods locally?
Yeah, you probably have some Whole Foods in Illinois. But you really need to use medicinal cannabis, the flowers, to treat multiple sclerosis. It's a primary medicine for that. And I would just encourage you to keep working on your state legislators there in Illinois and try to get them to change that law.
I do. I advertise a lot of it on my Facebook.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you for the
All right,
information.
you have a good evening. Thanks for calling.
You too. Peace.
Peace. You know, we had a big global cannabis march this past week. We had marchers all across the world in over 300 cities. I went and marched in New York City for the first time last Saturday in their global cannabis parade, and that was the first one back 40 years ago. We have a videotape that Frank Mahoney's produced about the Portland March, and I think we're ready to roll that. So let's go ahead and roll that tape. We'll be back in 5 minutes.
Guys with the signs, all all you guys that have signs, we're going to be giving out more signs here very shortly. Here's how this works. Around 5 minutes before noon, we're going to get ready, and we're all going to kind of march that way. So you guys, here in the next 20 minutes, kind of hang out, definitely hang out. We have Tempate coming up in about 2 minutes. He's going to play us some great songs, keep the movement going. But guys, we're here for the march. We're here to support freedom. That's what we do.
Hey everybody, how are you doing today? This is, I think, our 14th March here. I've been doing this for 13 years myself. I've actually been with the Seattle Hemp Fest for 19 years. But way before then, I was an activist. I used to run the rock medicine team for the Grateful Dead from '88 until Jerry died. And over that period of time, I met a group of people out in Harrisburg, Oregon, who decided that they would like to import hemp, from Spain through France. And so we did, and we had to get the DEA's permission. So we imported this hemp, and then we took that hemp and we made boards out of it.
Always showing up and bringing the bus,
all right.
supporting this event, and supporting everyone.
What are we here for?
Freedom!
Freedom!
All you guys.
Freedom!
How about
baby.
we get Mr. Russ Belville up here?
It is very nice to see this type of turnout because there are so many people who are afraid to come out and stand out in public. One of the things that they need to realize in this country is that prohibition is a luxury item. It is not something we can afford any longer. We now have schools being closed, libraries being shut down, roads not being repaired because they are busy chasing little Johnny and little Jane and their plans.
No one should be arrested for cannabis. We should have regulation. We should be able to clean test. We should have safe access points.
What are we here for?
Legalization.
We can no longer afford. It's time to stop putting people behind bars for touching a plant.
Remember that now as we're going towards legalization, we need to have rights. You know, you can't just accept any medicine that's out there, any marijuana that's out there. You know, NORML, especially here locally, Oregon NORML, they're your consumers' rights organization. You know, they're the ones that are going to help you make sure that your medicine, your recreational substance, your religious substance is yours. So remember that, folks. Support Oregon NORML, support National NORML, because they're the consumer movement for you. So, in order to stay out of jail, folks, we've got the 4 sayings to help keep you out of jail. Once, so I'm going to say these, and I want everybody here to say them after me. So, when the officer approaches you, whether you're in your car, on your bicycle, on foot, anywhere officer approaches you, say, "Am I free to go, officer?" Am I free to go? Oh, wait a minute, we need it louder than that because the officer didn't hear you. Am I free to go, officer? All right, and then the next one is, this is important because they'll try and trick you. You want to say, "I do not consent to any searches." I do not consent to any searches. Okay, and then, you want to make sure you're able to contact one of these, somebody like myself here. So, I wish to speak to an attorney. Yes. And remember, and then the other thing now, our Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court, in their wisdom, has said that you must speak to remain silent. That doesn't make sense, but these are just some old folks in Washington, D.C. So, number 4 is, I wish to remain silent. I wish to remain silent.
No medicine can do nothing quite like this. So please, give me my cannabis.
All right, welcome back. Thanks, Frank, FM, for putting those images together. We are taking phone calls. We got about 15 minutes left. We have a caller standing by. Let's see if we can bring him in. Welcome to the show, caller. Oh, he gave up. I guess he was waiting there a little too long.
I have a question, Paul. Everybody seems really concerned about what's going on up in Washington, all these new regulations coming on, people trying to put new taxes on top of new taxes and putting the new DUI things into, and everybody's going to say that we got these new laws on there. They're just going to just make this whole thing that happened that they passed in Washington so regulated and so over attached to new laws and regulation. They're just going to hate what happened. What's going on up there? Do you know?
The Washington Liquor Control Board is trying to implement some rules. It's going to be a while, probably be at least another year and a half before we see stores open in Washington, Colorado. What do you think in terms of your state, Agua?
Well, I believe that 5 nanograms is a totally inappropriate standard.
That's for driving.
And for driving to the 5 nanograms, because I don't know if your cameras can get this.
See if we can get a camera to close in on that. They're trying.
Okay, but 5 nanograms is
Hold it still.
Totally inappropriate standard, because at 5 nanograms a driver is still 5% safer than a totally sober driver. Now, okay, so you can see the line, the lower line is the 5 nanogram level. This is, let's see, this is sober driver, and there's 5 nanograms. You find that at 2.5 nanograms, a driver is 30% safer than a sober driver. And at 5 nanograms, they're still 5% safer than a sober driver. So they should not be punished for being at that level. That's the detectable level. And in Colorado, they're attempting, and they don't have it in place yet, they're attempting to establish that the presence of 5 nanograms of THC is used as evidence of other drug use.
And they're basing that on the Washington law, which just kind of plucked it out of the air.
It's totally inappropriate. Alcohol, this is the level of impairment at
0.8.
At 0.08.
0.08.
At 0.08 blood alcohol, there's a lot of evidence that drivers are 6 to 10 times more likely to be in an accident or traffic fatality. So this is the level of impairment that corresponds to 0.08 blood alcohol. The voters said that they wanted to regulate marijuana like alcohol. This is the level of impairment. If somebody's impaired to this level, they should not be on the road, no matter why.
And that was Colorado's law. That was the actual name of it. Regulate marijuana like alcohol.
That was the main central battle cry. That's what voters were calling for.
Yeah, and that's Amendment 64 in Colorado.
That's right.
And so it's an amendment to the Colorado Constitution. Doesn't that give it a lot of extra weight in judicial proceedings?
Well, it means that anything that departs from regulating marijuana like alcohol is a violation of the Colorado State Constitution. But I don't want to wait until you go to an appellate court in order for this to be torn down. It should be stopped where it is. And when that...
But it hasn't passed in Colorado's legislature yet.
Correct. The Senate voted it down. They said they're very concerned about impaired drivers, but they're more concerned about punishing non-impaired drivers.
I think what's more important here is that we get away from regulation and try to provide more education to our consumers and to our constituents about how we can prosper with some very simple truths.
You want to show your sign there? Okay. So that's kind of the logo for your ice cream. We just tried that ice cream. What did you think of the ice cream, Justin?
I thought it was delicious. I looked at the ingredients. It definitely had a fair share of the essential hemp oils, the essential fats, the aminos. I have a chart here if the camera can get into. It shows some of the health benefits of hemp specifically. Hemp is shown to be the highest vegetable protein food on the planet as far as a vegan, non-GMO plant protein source.
And our hemp ice cream has 6 grams of protein.
We have
per
all
4
of
ounce
the, all
serving.
of the
There's more
amino
protein.
acids, all of the amino acids of a hard-boiled egg here. We'd come back for another close-up. I can show you the most important, which is the omega chart here. All these are available at the website healthyeatingmadepossible.com. That's the acronym for hemp. Healthy
That's
eating.
a pretty long name.
It is. It's a long name, but it was a download to help save the planet and to help provide.
What's your website, Agua?
HempIScream.com.
So just like it says on your shirt there.
Yeah, hemp and the letter I and then scream, which is the opposite of a whisper. Whereas if you water
you demonstrated that for us quite well, I thought.
I don't need to scream again. Where if you water it down, you know,
He's
there are
on
a lot of
superfood.
non-dairy beverages like almond milk and coconut milk that you read the label, there's almost no protein in it.
That's right. Hemp Hemperay.
What we've done here is using Colorado-grown fiber, we've been making paper.
So that's a copy of the Declaration of Independence.
Oh, that's outdated. That's old. We got something better going now. We got presidential decrees.
I see.
Yeah, so this is some paper that we've been making in Colorado.
Very well.
Before
that's politics.
Yeah.
Politics and regulation. I vote for education first to avoid all this mess. A sovereign plant. Our forefathers warned us against tyranny. Once our government tells us what we can use for medicine, for food, it's time to wake up.
All right. Justin, we have a phone call. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hello?
Yeah, hi. How are you today?
Hey, I'm good, good. Just wanted to say first off, love the show.
Thanks.
Very awesome. Quick question. What is your
Facebook?
What's your Facebook? Like, I was fine.
Well,
One
one
or
of our
many?
Facebook sites is facebook.com/restorehemp. That's our biggest one. It's closing in on 250,000 likes there. And so if you want to find out more, and we put news up out there all the time, you can go to facebook.com/restorehemp. You gave me a cookie here, Agua. So this is a vegan chocolate chip cookie?
Yeah, vegan hemp seed chocolate chip cookie.
Okay. So how much protein's in this? Can you say?
Well, there's that's a 25 gram cookie.
I see.
So if I eat that, then I can't go driving.
No, there's no THC
Now
in
that's
this.
our confusion,
Oh,
please.
okay.
That's our medibles versus edibles. Every time I go to one of these festivals or events, I have the kids who I think are of the rainbow that must already know what color is which. But they come up to me and they think, hemp seed, oh gosh, great, I want some medibles. I say to them, it's the clear difference between an edible and a medible. And we have to make sure that we also understand that hemp is being grown as an industrial crop to provide a seed-bearing or yielding plant, which will provide us with food and with fiber. This is fiber that's coming from a marijuana genus, which is not a typical genetic genus of one of 6 varieties that's being grown for the industrial mass or biomass that it can produce. So we have to be careful, and with all due respect, understand the tree of life has a king and a queen. King hemp for food, fiber, and clothing, and the queen, Mary Jane, to help ease our pain.
So Agua, you have the site hempicecream.com, and are there what kind of information can we find there?
Well, we've been selling hemp ice cream at Red Rock shows for more than 8 years.
I buy them every year up at the Seattle Hemp Fest. I know that.
And we're at the Seattle Hemp Fest.
Hemp stock.
And you know, the amazing thing about these is they don't taste a bit like a rope.
No, nothing like rope.
And you can eat as many of these as you like, and you won't miss the rest of the party. And it, you know, like the breakfast of champion of athletes is hemp seed. You grow, you have a minor injury and you heal from it faster. And you got a little bit more, well, a whole lot more attitude. And You know, like in the Philippines, I met a bodybuilder who was writing a book on how he won all his trophies. And while he was in the Peace Corps in the Philippines, the unofficial national sport is rooster fighting. And it turns out the breakfast of champions of the winning roosters is hemp seeds.
Well,
and they got more attitude and more endurance. And if all else fails, he'll taste better.
I know the birdseed industry came in and lobbied against making marijuana illegal because they didn't want to limit their access to that. But I know, Agua, that you've been working on hemp fuel projects for many years. And could you talk about how feral hemp here in the Midwest could solve our energy problems?
Well, I don't know that the feral hemp genetics could solve our energy problems, but the feral hemp is a small amount of the plant growth in the area.
If we took the feral hemp stock and grew that agriculturally.
Well, we want to grow 500 acres of hemp under a center pivot, and we're looking at what kind of preparations do we have to undertake in order to grow a crop of a size that can make a difference. And assuming a 100-fold increase, you need 5 acres the year before that of a seed crop, dedicated for seed, not making food out of it. And 5/100ths of an acre the year before that, which is like 20 foot by 20 foot. And the year before that, 2 foot by 2 foot, which is really one plant. And so we're 4 years away from being able to grow industrial hemp on a scale that can make a difference. Starting with local ditch weed. I'm so sorry about that.
Don't worry.
We got.
I'm on it.
Here, comfort yourself with this super soft yarn here.
All right, that's great.
Yeah,
I'm comforted.
Yeah. Okay,
Thank you for comforting me.
That yarn kind of reminds me of your. It looks about as soft.
Well, my beard is much.
Is that
My
a hemp
beard
diet?
is
that a good hemp diet?
My beard is much more coarse. The hemp fiber is about half the diameter of my beard hair.
Would you mind?
What, you want to put a beard on? Go ahead, put a beard on. Let's see what a beard
No,
looks like.
I'd rather actually just do a mustache.
Well, you know what? We are about out of time. It's all been fun and games. We've had some technical difficulties here tonight. I appreciate you bearing with us, and it's a real honor to have you on the show, Agua. I've been wanting to have you on the show for a long time. I'm sorry about we had such technical difficulties, but
don't downstage.
Huh? Yeah.
Don't downstage. Never.
I won't.
Okay.
We kept it in flight.
It's an honor to be here. So keep educating us as to what we can do to really make a difference.
Yeah.
And I count on you to keep the true words flowing, brother.
I keep trying, that's for sure.
Hats off to you, Paul. Thank you.
Casper, you want to give a plug for your website?
Every Monday through Friday on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. You can tune in from 10 to 11 a.m. Pacific Standard, 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard, and take time for hemp. We're heard all around the world. Paul Stanford is my joint host on Thursdays, Fridays, the Small Town Fridays, Mondays, Healthy Mondays, Tuesdays, Salute to Canadians, and on Wednesdays, it's Leap Day. Make it a point to go to timeforhemp.com, and also you'll find all of our podcasts up in iTunes, free to download.
So
Thank
Justin,
you, Paul.
Go ahead and put a plug in for your website.
I'd simply like to say healthyeatingmadepossible.com. Please enjoy freedom as a consumer in your plant kingdom. Remember, don't be dumb. Education of our nation comes first. Help grow this company one seed at a time, because food is our mood, and help me build healthier, happier communities so we can fight a fight for freedom again.
And one more time, Agua, let's send them to your website too.
Eat my ice cream. Ask for it at your store. Hemp ice cream. .com.
I want to thank all you folks for watching. We're going out on another great song with John Cornette and Jan Sue Hurst. We'll be back next week, and help us restore hemp.
Yes, hemp, hemp, hooray. Eat it every day.
Woohoo. All right, here we go.
is our name. Got the gun, we got the number.